He is the vice president of a successful biker gang, but the real boss returns and starts destroying everything. So now Johnny decides he has to save his brotherhood from total annihilation, even though the man causing it is their own leader. The story begins in 2008 across the river from Liberty City in the industrial wasteland of Alderney. Johnny Klebitz currently runs the local chapter of the Lost MC because its president, Billy Gray, has been sent into court-ordered rehabilitation. While Billy is gone, Johnny turns the club away from pointless violence and starts treating it like an actual business. He focuses on making money, protecting the members, and maintaining a fragile truce with their biggest rivals, the Angels of Death. For the first time in years, the chapter feels stable. Unfortunately, Billy completes rehab. Johnny and the club collect him from the facility, and Billy immediately reclaims control as though nothing has changed. Johnny wants to believe rehab has calmed him down, but Billy still thinks leadership means being the loudest man in the room and the first person to start shooting. Before Billy can properly celebrate, he discovers that his custom motorcycle is missing. A mechanic in Bohan once had the bike, but he has already sold it to the Angels of Death. Billy now has exactly the excuse he needs to restart the violence. Johnny leads the club to Northwood, fights through the Angels guarding the motorcycle, and recovers Billy's bike. The lost ride home information, "We're staying close to the club" symbol restores Johnny's health. Johnny hopes returning the bike will settle Billy down. Instead, it restores his confidence. Back at the clubhouse, we meet the members caught between these two versions of the Lost. Jim Fitzgerald is the treasurer and Johnny's closest friend. Harry Thorpe and Clay Simons are dependable enforcers. Angus Martin is a veteran member who lost the use of his legs but still helps run the club from headquarters. And Brian Jeremy is the club's secretary who worships Billy so completely that questioning the president feels like treason. The Lost celebrate Billy's return, but members of the Angels of Death arrive hoping he will respect the truce Johnny negotiated. Billy could preserve the peace with one normal conversation, so naturally he insults them and takes out one of their members. The surviving Angels flee and Billy orders Johnny to chase them down. Johnny clears out the escaping riders, officially destroying months of careful diplomacy in approximately 5 minutes. Johnny sees the problem immediately. He believes the club survives by choosing its battles, while Billy believes every disagreement deserves a wanted level. But most members still respect Billy's patch, so challenging him now may split the chapter anyway. So he follows the order and watches the club slide backwards. We also meet Jason Michaels, a younger Lost member who plans to visit his girlfriend in Brooklyn. Billy warns him not to travel alone, but Jason ignores him and rides into the city. Across Liberty City, Jason's private relationship creates a problem the Lost cannot see. He is secretly dating the daughter of Russian crime boss Mikhail Faustin. So Faustin sends Nico Bellic to end it permanently. Nico finds Jason near Firefly Island and finishes the job during a gunfight. Back in Alderney, Billy welcomes a lawyer named Dave Grossman who handles some of the club's legal problems. Billy wants to reward him with membership because he is useful, leaving Johnny to wonder what Billy believes the Brotherhood is actually for. Their argument is interrupted when the Angels retaliate. Lost members are being attacked at 2 separate locations, so Billy and Johnny lead the chapter through a pair of large gunfights. They rescue the surviving bikers, and Billy treats both victories as proof that the club needs his aggression. He does not consider that his aggression caused both attacks. That option never enters the dialogue tree. The situation becomes worse when the club learns that Jason has been taken off the board. Billy immediately blames the Angels, even though he has no evidence. Johnny wants to learn who actually targeted their brothers, but Billy has already decided the answer because it gives him another reason to escalate the war. The Lost ride into Actor, where Billy gives Johnny a grenade launcher and tells him to open the front door. Johnny fires through a window, setting off a battle that tears through the property. The Angels defend the building while reinforcements flood the street, but Johnny clears the exterior and follows Billy inside as flames spread through the clubhouse. Near the back, Billy and Brian discover 2 large bags of contraband. Johnny finally understands why Billy was so eager to attack. Jason's death gives him the excuse, but the hidden shipment is the real prize. What looked like revenge is actually a very loud loot raid. Johnny asks where the drugs came from, but Billy dismisses him and orders the club to take everything. The Lost escape before the building burns down, leaving their rivals without a headquarters and Billy with a fortune in stolen heroin. The victory looks enormous. The problem is that Billy has stolen a fortune without learning who originally owns it. While Billy searches for a buyer, Jim gives Johnny a job that at least has a plan. The Angels still own several expensive motorcycles, and a Japanese contact wants to export them. Johnny and Jim steal a truck, raid an Angels hangout, and load the bikes while their owners shoot at them. They escape with the shipment, but two corrupt police officers are already waiting at the dockyard. We meet Jimmy Matthews and Ed McCornish, who know exactly what Johnny and Jim have stolen. Instead of making arrests, they demand regular payments, effectively turning police corruption into a subscription service. Jim would rather cancel permanently. Jim provokes the officers into chasing him and leads them toward an industrial ambush where Johnny and several Lost members are waiting. The officers arrive expecting an easy arrest. Instead, they have aggroed the entire motorcycle club. Johnny and Jim eliminate them along with the responding police units, ending the blackmail before it becomes another monthly expense. Jim believes the job proves he and Johnny can still run the club with some control. But Billy is already trying to sell the cargo that started the next disaster. Billy finds a buyer through Elizabeth Torres, a volatile Bohan underworld boss whose apartment functions like a criminal matchmaking lobby. When Johnny arrives, he meets Playboy X and Nico Bellic. He has no idea that Nico is the man who killed Jason. Elizabeth's plan sounds simple. Johnny supplies the product, Playboy and Nico meet the buyer, and everyone leaves with money. The buyer is an undercover officer. Police surround the apartment building the moment the package appears, turning the sale into a full raid. Nico and Playboy fight toward the roof. Johnny escapes through the lower floors, but the heroin is still in his hands, so he battles through the police, reaches his motorcycle, and loses the wanted level across broker. The deal earns no money, exposes the operation, and leaves Johnny carrying the same dangerous shipment. Billy only tells him to keep it safe. Johnny expects Billy to solve the problem he created. Instead, Billy gives him the consequences and starts looking for the next plan. Billy's next plan brings Johnny to Congressman Thomas Stubbs III, an Alderney politician who behaves like a crime boss with better stationery. Johnny meets him inside a private club while Stubbs receives a massage and demonstrates that clothing is apparently optional when discussing a targeted hit. Stubbs wants his uncle Arthur permanently silenced because the older man holds political influence that limits his career. Arthur is arriving at Francis International Airport, and Stubbs wants the attack to resemble terrorism, which he somehow believes will improve his election strategy. Johnny does not trust the request, but Billy needs money, and Stubbs is offering future influence. So Johnny accepts, intercepts Arthur's convoy, eliminates the security detail, and escapes the airport police. Stubbs gains his political advantage and promises Johnny a favor in return. Johnny does not trust politicians, but he understands the value of a favor. In Liberty City, storing one government contact in the inventory is rarely a bad idea. Before that favor becomes useful, Johnny receives another emergency from Ashley Butler. Ashley is Johnny's former girlfriend, and he still cares about her even though her destructive lifestyle has destroyed their relationship. She is trapped inside an apartment controlled by dealers and addicts, so Johnny fights his way through the building and rescues her. Ashley promises that she is going to change. Johnny has heard this dialogue before. Johnny knows helping her keeps the cycle alive, but leaving her there feels worse, so he takes her somewhere safe. Ashley soon returns to the same lifestyle. Johnny can remove every enemy from the room, but he still cannot remove the problem. Meanwhile, Stubbs needs help freeing several white-collar prisoners who may become politically useful. One of them is also completely unhinged, but apparently every voter matters. Johnny attacks a prison convoy, steals the bus, and escapes the police while the prisoners celebrate behind him. He drives them to the coast where they board a waiting boat and disappear. Stubbs gains a collection of deeply questionable supporters. Johnny gets paid, and Stubbs still owes him the favor. Back at the clubhouse, Jim finally discovers where the contraband comes from. The shipment originally belongs to the Triads. The angels steal it from them, and the lost steal it from the angels. Johnny's club is now holding the central objective in a criminal game of pass the parcel. Jim believes returning the shipment can prevent another war. Johnny agrees because he has already seen what one of Billy's unnecessary conflicts does to the chapter. Billy also approves, which is the first reason to suspect the exchange. But Billy has already contacted the Triads privately. He offers the Triads Johnny and Jim as compensation. They can die upstairs and Billy can keep control of the club. Johnny, Jim, Billy, and Brian ride to Chinatown. Billy and Brian remain outside while Johnny and Jim carry the heroin upstairs. The Triads confirm that the shipment belongs to them, but instead of accepting its return, they attack from every direction. Johnny and Jim abandon the bags and fight across rooftops, construction platforms, and alleyways while Triad soldiers try to surround them. They finally reach the street where Billy crashes his motorcycle as police close in. The officers arrest him. Billy immediately accuses Johnny of arranging the disaster. Johnny knows Billy sent him and Jim upstairs to die, but the accusation reveals what Billy plans to do next. He wants the club to blame Johnny for his own betrayal. With Billy imprisoned, Johnny becomes acting president again. Brian refuses to recognize his authority and insists Johnny organize the arrest. Half the club supports Johnny, while the other half follows Brian. Johnny finally receives the president's patch. At the same moment, the club's internal HP bar drops to almost nothing. Brian leaves with Billy's loyalists, turning the disagreement into a civil war. Johnny wants to rebuild the chapter, but Brian can now present every decision he makes as another attack on the club. Jim knows they need support before the chapter loses anyone else, so he finds allies outside the club. We meet Malk and Deshawn of the Uptown Riders. Their bikes and style are different from the Lost, but Johnny quickly respects their competence. Malk also notices that Johnny treats him like a partner instead of hired muscle. A weapons supplier gives Johnny pipe bombs, so the Riders target the Angels' remaining drug operation. Johnny destroys 3 transport vans across the city, including a final vehicle protected by a biker escort. The attack weakens the Angels and Malk remains beside him just as his own chapter begins losing members. Ryan soon requests a peace meeting at the docks. Johnny and Jim suspect a trap, but refusing the meeting gives Brian more room to claim they are dividing the club, so Johnny attends. He still wants to believe some part of the Brotherhood can be saved without destroying more of it. Brian answers by opening fire. Lost members begin turning on other Lost members while vans bring reinforcements. Johnny and Jim survive the ambush and chase the defectors through Alderney, but Brian escapes. The club has lost more brothers without ending the rebellion. Johnny is still trying to save the Lost, but every victory now removes another piece of it. Jim decides the rebellion cannot continue, so he contacts Ray Bocchino, a mafia captain in the Pecorino crime family, who uses the Lost for smuggling. Ray does not care who wears the president's patch. But the Civil War is damaging his profits, so he reveals Brian's location. Johnny attacks the safe house with support from Terry and Clay, fighting through Brian's remaining followers until he finally corners him inside. Brian insists that Billy represents the true Lost and blames Johnny for everything that has happened. Johnny wants to believe sparing him would preserve some part of the Brotherhood, but Brian has already turned that loyalty into another weapon against the club. Johnny can execute him immediately or walk away, but if he chooses mercy, Brian only uses the time to attack again. Brian is finished either way. The Civil War ends, but the result does not feel like peace. Johnny has fewer brothers, a damaged chapter, and no protection from the people already closing around them. With the chapter damaged and money running out, Johnny goes back to Elizabeth. She needs the Angels of Death stopped from moving one of her illegal convoys across the East Borough Bridge. Johnny joins Malk and Deshawn, takes control of the toll booths, and waits for the convoy. When the Angels arrive, the Riders eliminate the guards without destroying the van. Johnny takes the wheel, and Malk climbs in beside him. The objective is now escaping the police in a vehicle with the acceleration of a wardrobe. They eventually lose the wanted level and deliver the drugs. Malk stays beside Johnny even while his club collapses, giving him an ally who does not require a patch to act like a brother. Elizabeth immediately gives that partnership another job. Her next shipment arrives inside Marta, a woman flying from Puerto Rico with high-value product hidden on her body. Federal agents identify her at the airport, so Johnny attacks before they can make the arrest. He rescues Marta, fights through the FIB response, and returns her to Elizabetha's apartment. The cargo arrives safely, so Elizabetha arranges another sale before anyone has time to relax. The next buyer refuses to cooperate. Police rush the meeting before the argument can be resolved, and Johnny loses his motorcycle during the escape. So he climbs behind Malk, turning the chase into a two-player sequence. Malk drives while Johnny destroys police vehicles with an assault shotgun. A helicopter joins the pursuit, so Johnny shoots it down from the back of the bike. They smash through a showroom, enter the subway system, and fight off the remaining police until the wanted level finally disappears. The deal produces no profit, but Johnny and Malk survive, and Malk is still beside him when the shooting stops. Before Johnny can enjoy having one reliable ally, Ashley creates another emergency. She owes money to Dmitry Raskolov, who threatens to end her unless she helps him kidnap Roman Bellic. Roman is Nico's cousin, and Dmitry wants to use him as leverage. Johnny knows Ashley's habits are manipulating him again, and he does not want Roman involved. But he still cannot convince himself to leave Ashley with Dmitry, so he contacts Malk and waits outside a gambling establishment Roman frequently visits. When Roman leaves, Johnny and Malk force him into their car. Roman panics, talks constantly, and attempts to escape the moment the vehicle slows, forcing Johnny to chase him down and put him back inside. They deliver Roman to Dmitry's men, who take him to a warehouse. Johnny leaves believing he has kept Ashley alive for a little longer, while Nico later rescues Roman. Johnny thinks he is protecting Ashley. Instead, he only moves her debt onto Roman. Johnny now needs money badly enough to keep working for Ray, who brings the Lost into a much larger operation involving diamonds entering Liberty City. A cook smuggles the stones aboard a cargo ship, and nightclub owner Tony Prince arranges to buy them. Tony sends his boyfriend Evan Moss to complete the exchange, with his bodyguard and business partner Luis Lopez providing protection. Ray wants the Lost to interrupt the purchase and steal the diamonds before Tony's people can escape. Johnny knows Ray only values the club while it remains useful. But rebuilding the Lost requires money, and Jim believes this job can provide it. So Johnny gathers the chapter's remaining riders and watches the transaction from the docks. The moment the diamonds change hands, the Lost attack. Luis notices the bikers and protects the convoy, but Johnny pursues the vehicles through the dockyard. Evan's limousine crashes, allowing Johnny to catch him, drop him, and take the diamond bag. Ray tells Johnny to hide the stones inside garbage bags placed in two separate trash piles. Johnny follows the instructions and Ray's men retrieve them later. The robbery works, but the diamonds only become more dangerous. Tony and Luis want them back, the Jewish mob wants to buy them, and Ray wants the profit, which means whoever holds the bag becomes everyone else's next target. We cut to the Libertonian Museum, where Ray arranges the final exchange. Nico Bellic attends as Ray's representative with the diamonds while Johnny appears alongside the Jewish buyers. For a few seconds, the transaction proceeds normally. Luis Lopez crashes the meeting. He attacks the buyers and grabs the diamonds, turning the museum into a three-way firefight. Nico battles through one section while Johnny takes the buyer's cash and escapes through another. Mafia gunmen block the galleries and exits, but Johnny fights his way outside. Ray's men see him carrying the payment and attack him in the street. Johnny now knows Ray never planned to let the Lost keep anything. Johnny eliminates them and escapes with the entire cash bag. Johnny gives the money to Jim, the one person he still trusts completely. Jim hides it from the Mafia because they still believe the cash can rebuild the chapter after Billy's wars. Ray discovers the betrayal almost immediately. Johnny follows a message from Jim to a restaurant basement and finds Ray interrogating him. A Mafia enforcer demands the location of the money, but Jim refuses to betray Johnny even while Ray threatens both of them. Johnny is captured as well, but Jim cuts himself free, grabs the enforcer and takes him down. The two bikers escape the basement, recover their motorcycles, and flee as Ray's soldiers chase them through the streets. They separate because they think it will make the escape easier. Johnny survives, Jim does not. Ashley warns Johnny that Ray has sent several vehicles filled with hitmen after him. Johnny regroups with Terry and Clay, and the remaining Lost destroy the attackers across Alderney. For a moment, Johnny believes both he and Jim have escaped, but when he meets Ashley afterward, she tells him that Jim has been gone. Elsewhere, Ray sends Nico Bellic to hunt Jim through the subway system. Nico catches him and finishes him during the fight. Nico never realizes he has now destroyed a second person at the center of Johnny's life. Johnny has already lost members to Billy's war and Brian's rebellion, but Jim is different. Jim remains loyal through the Triad betrayal, the Civil War, and Ray's torture. He is the man Johnny expects to rebuild the club beside. The money survives. The man Johnny planned to rebuild it with does not. Ashley tells Johnny to forget Ray because Billy is still the greater threat. He remains imprisoned, but he has started cooperating with federal authorities and now plans to testify against the Lost. Johnny finally collects the political favor Stubbs owes him. The congressman visits the clubhouse and explains that federal agents are watching Ray, preventing him from attacking Johnny openly. But Billy is preparing to enter witness protection. Billy wants Johnny and Angus imprisoned while he receives a new identity for selling out the club he helped destroy. Johnny thinks back through everything Billy has done. He starts the war with the Angels, steals the heroin, sacrifices Johnny and Jim to the Triads, divides the chapter through Brian, and finally tries to survive by handing the remaining members to the government. Johnny has always believed protecting the club means obeying its president. Now Billy is selling that club to save himself. So Johnny decides protecting the Lost means removing him permanently. Johnny gathers the few members who remain. Terry, Clay, and Angus still stand beside him, but Jim is dead, Brian's faction is gone, and most of the chapter has been consumed by wars Billy created. The survivors ride toward Alderney State Correctional Facility. Terry supplies Johnny with weapons, ammunition, and armor before the assault. Police guard the entrance, so Johnny fires an RPG into the gate and opens the prison himself. Terry and Clay follow him through the breach as guards, noose teams, and helicopters converge on the facility. Johnny fights across the yard while his brothers hold off the reinforcements. They push toward the chapel, where Billy is waiting. Billy carries a knife and tries one last time to manipulate Johnny. He talks about brotherhood as though the word can erase everything he has done, still expecting Johnny to hesitate because they once wore the same patch. But Johnny has already watched that loyalty destroy Jim and almost destroy everyone else, so he finally stops listening. Billy becomes the final boss. The fight lasts one cutscene. Johnny raises his handgun and puts an end to Billy's story. The president who keeps demanding loyalty finally receives none. Johnny reunites with Terry and Clay, and the surviving Lost escape before the authorities can surround them. They ride back toward the clubhouse, believing they may still have one place left to regroup. Instead, they find the building completely destroyed. Ray's men have vandalized everything. The furniture is broken, the walls are ruined, and the headquarters Johnny has spent the entire story protecting no longer feels like a home. Johnny remembers the club that existed before Billy returned. He has tried to preserve that version of the Lost, but almost everyone connected to it is now dead. The chapter technically survives. The brotherhood they were protecting does not. Johnny, Terry, Clay, and Angus understand that this version of the Lost cannot continue. They spread fuel across the clubhouse, and Terry sets the building on fire. The four survivors stand outside and watch their home burn. The flames consume the clubhouse. Johnny cannot bring Jim back or undo the Civil War, but he can stop sacrificing more people to the same idea. Afterward, Ashley asks him for help one final time. She expects another rescue from the life she refuses to leave, and Johnny still cares enough that walking away is difficult. But he now understands that saving her every time only gives the addiction another chance to use him. He tells Ashley to leave that life behind and cuts contact with her. Johnny also distances himself from Stubbs and his political favors. Instead, he supports Jim's wife and child, keeping his promise to the friend who stayed loyal when the rest of the club turned against him. Johnny begins the story protecting the Lost by holding the chapter together. Now he protects the people who remain by letting the old chapter die. The old Lost are finished, but Johnny, Terry, Clay, and Angus can finally decide what the Brotherhood becomes next. Johnny's story is only one side of Liberty City, but Niko Bellic's story changes everything. Check out the GTA 4 video to see the other side of Liberty City.